Feature the mayoral candidates for the city of Scottsboro. Those candidates are Brent Miller, Robin Shelton, and Mr. Joe Young. As we did with earlier candidates, numbers were drawn to determine the order in which the candidates will address the audience. To begin with, each candidate will have 3 minutes for a brief introduction, and we're going to begin with candidate number 1, which is Mr. Joe Young.
Good evening. My name is Joe Young, and I'm honored to be a candidate for mayor of Scottsboro. I'd first like to take time to thank all of the sponsors for making tonight's forum possible. I appreciate you making this event available for the people of Scottsboro. And I'd like to thank all of you, the citizens that are here tonight, those of you that are listening by radio and will be watching by television. It's encouraging to see your interest and involvement in this election. My wife Lisa and I have been married for 26 years, and we have 4 amazing children. We have 2 adult children who graduated from Scottsboro High School and are currently preparing for their careers. We have 2 young daughters that we adopted through Jackson County DHR. We moved to Scottsboro 9 years ago to serve on staff of the Well Family Worship Center. I'm currently the administrative pastor there. Scottsboro has been and continues to be a great place to raise our family. I want to be mayor of Scottsboro because I love our city. For Lisa and I, Scottsboro is an answer to prayer. I grew up in a pastor's home and moved around a lot growing up, and then I became a pastor and moved around frequently. My wife and I, we wanted a hometown for our children as well as for ourselves, so we began to pray and ask God to put us somewhere where we could grow roots. After some time, we ended up here in Scottsboro, fell in love with the city, and knew that God had answered our prayer. For us, Scottsboro is a gift from God, and I can't imagine anyone loving this city more than we do, even if you were born and raised here. I also want to be mayor because I see the lack of growth and job opportunities for our children. I want our children and your children to have the option to stay here and raise their families when they grow up. I also want to be mayor because I see the need for a mayor with a fresh perspective and one that is open to new ideas and is willing and able to work with others to move our city forward. I've been in leadership all of my adult life. I have 25 years of tested and trusted leadership. I have managed 3 Carport Auto Parts stores. The first was a new store, so I have an understanding of what it takes to start and open a business. The second store, I was awarded multiple years for the largest growth in sales, and I know how to grow a business, and I believe I can help our city grow. The third store was the largest in the chain. The average sales of this particular store was $1.4 million a year. In ministry, I've led congregations ranging in size from 50 to hundreds. It says a lot about one's character, people skills, and leadership skills when others follow you voluntarily. Over the years in leadership, I've developed good people skills and successful relationship skills that will enable me to work effectively with the city council and other leaders in our city. I've also learned that it's important for a leader to be a good listener, and I promise that I will listen to the citizens of Scottsboro. I desire to bring our city together with business and nonprofits along with our government working together to solve our problems and move our city forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Now, candidate number 2, Mr. Brent Miller.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting the forum. Everyone who put a lot of work into it. I've been involved in quite a lot of event plannings, and I know all the efforts that you put into it, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, 4 years ago, I called my dad up and I said, I believe I'm going to run for city council. And he kind of stopped and he said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "Well, it's a whole new ballgame. It's a beast. It's something that, you know, it's challenging. It's heartbreaking at times, but it's also rewarding. But I went ahead and obviously I did it. People elected me 4 years ago to serve the city. I believe I've done a good job the last 4 years, and I want to continue in a different capacity. Previously, with the council, you know, we have a different responsibility as a council, and now I want to go a step further, go into the mayor's position, and be able to take the reins and lead the city to where we need to be. Now, I'm born and raised in Scottsboro. I graduated from Scottsboro High School in 1997. My parents are Dennis and Mary Miller, and bear with me as I call off my family. It's a big list. I'm the youngest of 7. So I have a brother, Jeff Miller, his wife, Michelle, Beth Miller, and then Danny Miller and his wife, Dawn, Luann Tubbs, and her husband Jason, Joey Miller, and his wife Michelle, Christine. And then, let's see, one more, Stephen, and his wife Amanda. We're quite a bit of us. I don't want to go into nephews and nieces, but I also host international exchange students. This is my 8th year hosting those students. 2 of those are here tonight. I'm on my 12th and 13th, so I really do appreciate them showing up to support me. Now, the last 8 years, like I said, I've been highly involved in the council the last 4 years, 8 years hosting, and there's so much that I see that we need to move Scottsboro forward. I had to move away, go to Chicago, get a job. I worked in the management business for 10 plus years. I managed a store with approximately $50 million a year in sales. I sat in 3 budget cycles, 4th coming up here next month, with the city of approximately $21 million. I understand what it takes to lead Scottsboro. I understand what it takes to get involved and the people involved, and I have the relationships already in place. I just want to take it a step further and go a little bit beyond so that we can get Scottsboro moving forward where we need to have it, so that we can get the jobs, we can get the economy turned around, we can get the tourism, we can get the quality of life built back up to what we need it to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And now candidate number 3, Mr. Robin Shelton.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the people that have put this together. If I mention everybody, I'll still forget somebody, but I do appreciate the opportunity to stand here and speak. I am Robin Shelton, candidate for mayor, and I'm very passionate about the job I seek. I'm a small business owner along with my wife. We have been for the past 9 years. I'm a retired healthcare professional. I am a former school board member with the Scottsboro City Board of Education, serving 2 elected terms from 1992 to 2004. I was a nurse with the Army Nurse Corps and Army Reserves. I am a husband, a father, and a grandfather. I'm proud of my family's work history, my parents, my grandparents, my in-laws, and my children and their work ethic. But I stand here on my own merits, on the skills and knowledge that I have acquired over my working career. While in healthcare, I have recruited some 10 physicians and their families to Scottsboro. A few names that you may recognize include McGehee, Tucker, Herbert Holtz, Knowles, and Ortiz, just to name a few of those families. I have formulated and worked with large budgets. I have been held accountable, and I have held others accountable as well. During my campaign, I have stated that I felt like that one of the major issues that looms our city is our $3 million bond issue and the 4 projects that is slated to be funded by that. Nowhere have I noticed or seen during my campaigning that it has been brought to the forefront by others. I feel like this project and working within its means is a major impact on our city. If we go over budget, and just last night in a council work session, Veterans Field was discussed with a $1 million proposed budget to replace Veterans Field. Architect threw out a number of $1.7 to $1.8 billion. I know the council and their efforts will drive that down, but I believe unless you can understand how the trickle-down effect affects the tax dollars and what we need to accomplish, you don't get to check that box of vision, leadership, or experience. I think dealing with employees on an everyday basis, the community safety, the rising healthcare costs, recruiting industry, and other businesses is an essential part of the mayor's office. When you go into office, you can't wave a magic wand or throw this fairy dust out there and some of those problems go away. That is why it's called work, and that's why you have to work every day to deal with these problems. That's why it's called work experience and experience at work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon. We will now begin the portion of the program where we have question and answer. Candidates will have the opportunity to address each question and will have 3 minutes to provide their answer. We will begin with candidate number 2, Mr. Brent Miller. Mr. Miller, as mayor, you will be responsible for a $20 million plus budget and will have 200 full-time employees. What management style would you employ when it comes to overseeing this amount of monies and the supervision of these department heads and employees?
Well, for the past 4 years, I've been working very often with the employees within the city. Obviously, the other council members, working with them on our budget to ensure that we do stay within budget, and we have been since I've been on council. Last year, actually prior, let me back up, a couple years ago, the way we did our budget was the council was presented a budget, we had a budget hearing, and then we voted on it. Last year, I made a recommendation that we actually change that so that we talk with the actual department heads. And so now the council members are actually sitting with the department heads, going over their individual budgets, and then let that come to the council as a whole, so that then we can make the best decision. A lot of times the council doesn't necessarily hear everything that is involved with the budget process because it gets cut before it comes to us. So having this leadership style to step in and say, we need to be involved. We're responsible for the budget. The council's responsible for spending that money. So we stepped in and we took control of that, and we said, let's hear from the department heads and their needs to see exactly what they need from their department. They're the ones who know how to do it best. Now, as far as a $3 million project, we've actually worked to get that under budget, or working to get it under budget. I hope we can. And just last week, I met with the other council member who serves on the committee for that project, and we were able to knock out about $200,000-300,000 off that project before it even came back to the council last night. And I know we're going to work on other ways to continue cutting that. But that's working with the actual members of the department heads, the members of the city, and going out and talking to the individual employees. It's not just about the department heads, it's also the employees. We have to listen to them. We only have several department heads, but we have a couple hundred or 100 plus employees within the city. We've got to listen to them and take care of their needs, but also work with the department heads to ensure that they're being able to provide what they need to be able to have a safe environment for the employees to work. A lot of times we hear, we don't have this, we don't have that within a city department. So one thing that I've been working on recently, it's actually the past year that I started working on this, was our sanitation trucks. Many of you have no idea, but our sanitation trucks are going on 9 years old now. So your newest truck picking up your garbage is about 9 years old. We have to get new trucks. We have to get those replaced. They're running 12, 15, 18-year-old trucks. We can't do that and provide the services that we need to provide the city of Scottsboro. So we've worked on a plan, a lease program, to try to go in and basically find a way to lease some trucks so that every couple of years we're having new trucks turn around within the city to provide the citizens with what they need and the employees with what they need to be able to work within their departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And now, candidate number 3, Mr. Robin Shelton. Mr. Shelton, it's going to be the same question. As mayor, you will be responsible for a $20 million+ budget and up to 200 full-time employees. What management style would you employ when it comes to overseeing this amount of money and the supervision of these department heads and the employees that make it up?
Well, I believe leadership comes to the forefront, but I believe that the department head and the employees should be involved in the budget process. When I was in healthcare, the employees and management was involved setting the budget. It was a work in progress. I know with the city government, the city council has areas that they're responsible for within the city government, the different departments. I feel like they should be involved with that department as they develop their budget. I also believe that as the city, and I differ somewhat from the current process, I think on capital equipment, we need a list out there of what we have. I think we need a 3-year, a 5-year, and a 10-year plan. And those department heads and those employees buy into this plan and they prioritize what we need. And then they work with that council member that is assigned to that department so that when we get to a council meeting or as we move forward once the budget is approved, we don't have a hiccup and it's like, well, we don't feel like they need that. Everybody's got to buy into the process from the very start. The city landfill is slated for closure and expansion in the next 3 to 5 years. That's going to be a major financial issue for the city, possible another bond issue. As I mentioned, the current $3 million project that's ongoing, $1 million bond project for the 4 projects. I hope and pray that all those can be done and stay within the budget, but there's a trickle-down effect. Our employees are suffering from rising healthcare costs. We have over 200 employees that are involved in our healthcare plan. We have our Blue Cross insurance. We have what we call a gap coverage plan that the local providers won't accept because they don't do electronic billing, the company. We have a telemedicine plan for the employees that we're paying for, that we, out of 200 plus employees that are enrolled in, we've only got 12 to 15 that participate in that, and that's a $1,400 a month cost to our city. So the council does need to be involved. The department heads need to be involved. It doesn't need to be a one-person process as we formulate the budget, and we need to get the employees involved. When I was in healthcare, when we had to cut costs, we went to the employees first because they know where the waste is at. They know where we can be frugal and what we can do that they can still do their jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon. And now candidate number 1, Mr. Joe Young. Mr. Young, as mayor, you will be responsible for a $20 million plus budget and up to 200 full-time employees. What management style would you employ when it comes to overseeing this amount of money and the supervision of the department heads and employees?
Well, I believe we have to be collaborative in working with the department heads, with the city council, and I think we also need to listen to the employees. I believe as a leader, you need to be out among those that you're working with, listening to them, assessing what the needs are. But I don't think anybody would know better what is needed in a department than the department head. So we need to listen to the department heads, involve the city council, and assess our needs. But what seems to be the norm in so many governments, and it seems to be a common occurrence within our own city, is that we ignore things until they become a crisis, like the garbage trucks, like the landfill. Instead of thinking ahead and planning ahead, we wait until it's a crisis. I would like to see us be forward-thinking, planning ahead, assessing not just what the immediate needs are, but what are the needs down the road, and planning ahead so we don't have a crisis, we don't have to keep borrowing more money and floating more bonds. When it comes to the situation with the ball fields, it seems to me that we need a mayor that has wisdom, because what has happened is the city council has borrowed $3 million before there was a final budget, before there was blueprints drawn up. That's not wise. None of us here would go and borrow money to build a house that we didn't have the blueprints finished for, or we didn't have the final budget prepared for. We need common sense leadership in our mayor's office when it comes to handling our budget, when it comes to handling our money. And I know Mr. Miller, he's one of the ones that voted to borrow the money. It's just not wise leadership when our city council is borrowing money before we have things finalized. We need to work together. We need to come together as a mayor, the city council, even involving the department heads, and work together to solve our problems financially and make sure that we're making sound financial decisions as a city. So I would like to see the city council, the mayor's office, department heads all working together to manage our finances more effectively, more efficiently, not ignoring problems, pushing them down the road so they end up costing us more because now we've got garbage trucks that are worn out and we don't have the money available and we really haven't made an advanced plan to replace those trucks. Again, that's just not common sense leadership. And so we need that common sense leadership that's looking down the road, working with the city council, putting together a plan that will adequately provide for our city and as well as the needs of our employees. Our employees are one of the most valuable resources we have, and we've got to do a better job of taking care of our employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Now we're up to the second round of questions, and we're going to begin this round with Mr. Robin Shelton, candidate number 3. Candidates will have 3 minutes to answer the question presented. Mr. Shelton, what are your top 3 priorities for Scottsboro once you get into office?
Top 3. First priority is dealing with the $3 million bond issue and the capital projects that are within the scope of that. I think lumped into that is the Richdale Road project, which will be in the process of being paid. And then Clemens Road, as I understand, is to be let for bid in January. Then also, we have a downtown renovation project that is slated to start next spring sometime. It's roughly $1.4 million is I think the budgeted amount for that project. Will involve planters, sidewalks, and so forth. It's going to be done one phase at a time. So I think the projects that are ongoing and in the future that lie on the table is the #1 priority. I think, as always, recruiting jobs sits there every day. I don't think you can put it above or below anything. I think recruiting jobs in industry, trying to expand our existing industry, I think we have to go to them and see what they need to do to us to help them grow their business. That's a major priority as well. And then our employee health care costs is a major, major concern for these employees. Employee safety, their working conditions, replacing the capital equipment. I could just go on. I mean, it's hard to prioritize once you get past number one because they're all sitting right there at the surface. And I think they all have to have their fair amount of attention. I don't think you can, I think as a working manager, as a mayor, each day you have a different priority. That doesn't mean one is less important than the other. It just means that that day something gets a little more attention. And so I feel like that you have to share your responsibility and your abilities to the different tasks at hand each day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon. And now, candidate number one, Mr. Joe Young. Mr. Young, same question. What are your top 3 priorities for Scottsboro once you get into office?
Well, my number one priority will be to lead in a trustworthy manner. I want to lead in such a way that it inspires confidence in our city government, it restores trust in our city government, and it inspires respect. Out talking with the people, knocking on doors, that seems to be a common thread among the people, that they're frustrated with our city government. They want things done in a professional manner that gains respect. When we're trying to recruit business, again, I go back to what's happened with the ball fields out at Veterans Park. It's a very unprofessional way to handle our business, and when we're trying to recruit and bring in industry, it just doesn't present a respectable front or appearance for us as a city. So I would want to lead and work with our city council in a way that it would inspire respect and confidence. That would be my number one goal and priority. Second would be economic development. I was asked recently what seems to be the mood of people in our city as you're out knocking on doors. And I would have to describe the mood and use a sports illustration. It's like that they feel like they're on a losing team. And they look and they see Huntsville growing and winning. They see Chattanooga. They see Fort Payne. They see Rainsville. Stevenson is getting Google and good to have you here tonight. But they see all these other cities around us growing, and we're not growing. I've heard our city described as a diamond in the rough. And I believe that economic development is the number one priority as a city as a whole, that we've got to do more to bring in business and industry. What I would like to see us do is continue to recruit retirees to move here, but also to recruit families, to do what we can to bring in more families as well as retirees. I would like to do a better job of promoting and marketing Scottsboro to tourists. I'd like to see a unified strategy between business as well as with the government and nonprofits. I also want to do more to bring in industry and business. I also want to establish a small business initiative to help local people establish businesses that are thriving and growing. My third priority would be beautifying the city. When you drive through Scottsboro, our hometown charm just isn't evident. There's a lot of trash in the ditches and along the sides of the road. There's not good landscaping. So I would like to see our city beautified. I think it will help us in attracting and keeping tourists coming back. I think it will present a better first impression when we're recruiting business and industry to come into our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Young. And now candidate number 2, Mr. Brent Miller. Mr. Miller, what would be your top 3 priorities for Scottsboro once you get into office?
The first would be cleaning up the image of Scottsboro. We've kind of taken a hit, everything from the beautification of the city all the way down to the just image within City Hall. We need to focus on that first, because if you don't have the approachable image within your city for the people looking into the city, then you're not going to get looked at. You have to clean up your image, and that's where it starts first, because you can't go anywhere else if you don't fix that. The second thing, which would be we have to work on our cooperation with the other elected leaders. We have the county commission that we've had a difficult time with their relationship with their administration. You have to fix that. You have to fix the relationship, or strengthen the relationship with the delegation. You have to strengthen it with the EDA. We have a new director coming on board soon. We have the IDB. We have the chamber that really works hard to advocate for us. We have to build those relationships up. If you don't have a positive image, no one's going to want to come here. If you don't have the cooperation with the other elected leaders and the other business leaders, then they're not going to look at you any more seriously. So the third thing is what a mayor has to do every day. All right? We're always going to have projects. It doesn't matter what that project is. It doesn't matter if it's a capital improvement project. It doesn't matter if it's replacing equipment. It doesn't matter if it's taking care of employees. It does not matter what that is. We're always going to be doing projects, and I hope we're always doing projects because that means that we're growing and we're continuing to progress. Now, one thing that I'd like to kind of back up a little bit, our landfill, we've been looking into that. We've been steadily looking into that. We're actually slated at 7 years, not 3 to 5. Now, why are we slated at 7 instead of 3 to 5? It's because our recyclables, right? Those have gone up, which have decreased the need for the cell expansion. So that's going to help us save some money down the road. Now, with these ball field projects, if you want to put that on me, that's fine. I'll take full responsibility along with the other council members who voted to approve these projects. We believe that if we improve our recreational abilities, we can increase our tourism dollars within the city of Scottsboro. Now, if you're on the city council, you have to understand the responsibilities of the council and the mayor. That's where it starts. The council only is able to do their job with the information provided from those professionals that you hire to give you that information. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not held accountable. We should be. But we have been working to identify the problems, and we have been working to get that cut down. But the main thing is we have to invest in the city to be able to have that income to come back in so that we can do the things that we need to do for the city of Scottsboro.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And now for our final questions for each candidate. We're going to begin this round of questions with candidate number 1, Mr. Joe Young. Currently, the city of Scottsboro does not have an appointment to the Jackson County EDA Board or the Highlands Hospital Board. Do you think Scottsboro should have an appointment to these boards? And could you tell us why or why don't you feel that way?
I do believe we should have an appointment to these boards because these boards are very important to our city. The Economic Development Board, they directly impact our economy, whether we get industry in or not. And I believe it's only right that we have a voice, someone that we help put on that particular board. With Highlands, I think it's important that we have an appointment there because if we're going to attract business and industry into our community, one of the things that they're going to look at is our healthcare system. When it comes to recruiting retirees and families into our community, that's one of the things that they're going to look at is our hospital and healthcare facilities. So I believe it's very important, and I would love to see Scottsboro have the opportunity to appoint members to this particular board. I want to go back to our economy, though, because growing our economy is vitally important. And I agree that it's important that for our tourism to have a good ball field and facilities that we can attract the tournaments and things in to our community. But I believe that Mr. Miller had an opportunity to separate himself and show that he has the potential to be mayor by speaking out and saying we need to wait until we have these blueprints in place and the proposed budgets and not make a decision just on proposed budgets, because right now just the first two projects that they're talking about is taking all of the money that we've already borrowed as a city. And I just don't think that's the wise leadership that we need. And we need leadership that can work together with the city council. My advice to the city council would have been, let's wait until we get these drawings completed, because they borrowed money for 4 projects, and the first 2 are going to take up, it appears, are going to take up all the money that's already been borrowed. I know the city council is working to lower that, and I do think that it's important to have these blueprints or these facilities in place to attract tourism. But I go back to the point that Mr. Miller could have distinguished himself, but he did not. He did not fulfill. I don't feel like he fulfilled his responsibility because he's on the committee. The committee's He wasn't involved in the committee meetings until the very end, just about a month out from when the blueprints were supposed to be turned in. Then he injects himself and makes, I think, a very wise suggestion that we need a 2-story score box and concession stand. I agree that that's important, but he should have injected himself much sooner in the process than what he did. And as a mayor, I believe collaboratively, I would have included the city council in that process as we're making those plans, and would not have left them out. And I think Mr. Miller could have jumped in a lot sooner.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Now candidate number 2, Mr. Brent Miller. Pass. Hang on a second. Currently, the city of Scottsboro does not have an appointment to the Jackson County EDA Board or the Highlands Hospital Board. Do you think that Scottsboro should have an appointment to these boards, and why or why not do you feel that way?
First, you have to decide, is it going to be a mayoral appointment or will this be a council appointment? I think that's where you have to start from first, and if it's council, then so be it. If it's mayor, then that's fine. Now, EDA would be probably a good choice if the council or the city has some input in that decision, because you have to work hand in hand with that person to be able to recruit the industry that we need in Scottsboro. I've already been working to help recruit some industry. Not everything a council member does is actually evident up in the chambers whenever we have our meetings. I spend probably 2 to 3 days a week out of my business time to work for the city of Scottsboro, researching, trying to find grants, trying to find ways, contacting people, networking, trying to make these things happen. So you have to understand that it is important to work with the EDA. If the council had that relationship, I think that would be great. Now, but at the same time, you can still go into the EDA and have that relationship without having the appointment. Hospital board, I don't think so much. I trust our hospital board and those who are appointed to do that job. And, I think that you don't have as much of a connection with the hospital. Of course, they're bringing in doctors, they're bringing in people, they're bringing in the health care that we need within the city. However, the more important thing for our city, I believe, is the jobs and the economy that will generate with the EDA. Now, I guess I'm in the hot seat for this ball project, which is fine. It is what it is, and if we had the leadership in place at the time, we wouldn't have these problems. The council definitely tried to get involved at an early stage. I welcome anybody to come ask me after this meeting. I welcome you to go ask any other council member. We were definitely trying to be involved. We asked. We have no authority over the mayor. And if you realize that you have no authority over the mayor, you can't force a mayor to do anything. And the mayor can't force a council member to do anything as well. So you can ask all day long. You can continually ask. You can continually ask to be involved and try to make that effort. But if you're shut down on every opportunity, then the only thing left is to bring it up at a council member or at a council meeting, which is ultimately what we had to do to be able to get the plans so that we found out what was going on. Now, I believe that the ball field projects, they're a necessary, I guess, burden at this point now. It shouldn't have been, but we'll continue to work on those. I have 2 more months on the city council. I plan on doing my job, fulfilling my obligation that the people elected me to do 4 years ago, to get that budget down as much as we can get it down. But at the end of the day, we're going to have something that's going to generate income for the city of Scottsboro.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And now, Mr. Robin Shelton, candidate number 3, will address the audience. Mr. Shelton, again, the question will be the same, but currently the city of Scottsboro does not have an appointment to the Jackson County EDA Board or the Highlands Hospital Board. Do you think Scottsboro should have an appointment to these boards, and why or why not do you feel so?
Before I answer the question, I can count. I was concentrating, and sometimes, just like when you get hit with the first question and you don't have time to think, you have to react and you have to make a decision. So, anyway, Ms. Brandon. I do feel like the city of Scottsboro has representation on the Healthcare Authority Board. I know the county commissioners have an appointment based on their area that they serve and are elected to serve. I know that the city of Scottsboro has citizens that serve on the Healthcare Authority Board. I'm not sure It would be nice if the City of Scottsboro Council could have a representation there, but the City of Scottsboro is very well represented by members that serve on the Healthcare Authority Board now, and I know that they have the best interest of the citizens of Scottsboro and the decisions they make. With the EDA, as I understand it, the County Commission and the legislative delegation makes those appointments. The City of Scottsboro does not have an appointment on that board. I think it would be very good if we had an appointment because, and I've said this before to other people, the City of Scottsboro has a lot of people that live in the county that work in Scottsboro and vice versa. We have a lot of people that live here and work in the county. We have to work together. I do feel very strongly that our city government and county government are not connected in any way. I think we have to respect their position, their decisions, and they have to take care of their financial needs just like the City of Scottsboro does. That doesn't mean we don't work together. That doesn't mean that we make recommendations and work with them on appointments to boards because it's going to benefit everybody in the City of Scottsboro and Jackson County. Because when it's all said and done, we all want jobs, we want the economy to grow. If the county prospers, we prosper. If we prosper, the county prospers. I think the Industrial Development Board, I'm not quite sure, and Rick could probably answer, but he's not up here. I don't know if the county has a county person on that board. It may be all local residents, but either way, I feel like we do need a representation on the EDA. With that being said, I feel like the Healthcare Authority does a great job. I know they're always under financial strain, just like the county government and the city government, and so I think they have to maximize their money the best they can as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. That concludes the question portion. We're actually going to go to Brent next. Shelton is on point. We're going to give each candidate a chance to make closing remarks to the citizens of Scottsboro and those listening to WWIC tonight. Each of you will have 3 minutes to speak, and we're going to begin with candidate Brent Miller. So, Brent, closing remarks, please.
Like I said earlier, I believe the last 4 years I've served the people with integrity and honesty. I believe that I've researched every opportunity that's come before the council, or that's come before myself in any committee that I serve on. I've been highly involved in the community longer than since I've been on the council. That's very evident if you look at the square, if you look at the new parking lot that the DRA purchased that I helped establish, if you look at the renovations on the building next to the light side. All of those things are new. All those things we've been working on. All those things are new ideas that we have to put forward. We have to continue working with the county. It's highly important that we work with the county. No one wants to come and locate in Scottsboro or Jackson County for that matter if they don't have a positive image on their way into the city. So it's very important that we do that. It's not just about working together in collaboration and having a meeting. It's also, there's a little bit of financial responsibility. We just did that just a couple of weeks ago. If you missed it at a meeting, we actually helped provide a 20% matching grant to a bus that they use that services the city and the county. All right, so we've been working on those things, we've been doing those things, and we'll continue to do those things because we have to understand that a very vibrant city translates into a better county and vice versa. It's very important to have those two on the same page. So the next 4 years, I want to continue building on the groundwork that I've already put in place. You know, I had someone come up to me earlier and say, be careful about not talking about what you've done. Well, this is just like a job interview. Okay, that's exactly what this is. You have to sell yourself to the people of Scottsboro who are the ones who are actually hiring you to do the job. So I have to tell you what I've done. I have to tell you what I've worked on, and I'm going to continue doing that job up until November. So I just hope that the people of Scottsboro research each person. They go off of what that person has brought to the table and what they can continue bringing to the table. You know, instead of focusing on other people's issues, focus on our issues. Let me focus on mine. Everyone else can focus on theirs. And then at the end of the day, you compare those notes side by side, and then you make a decision off of what you believe is best for the city of Scottsboro. I believe that's me. Of course, I'm biased in that opinion. However, I hope that the majority of the people make that decision up next Tuesday, that they believe that I am the best qualified candidate to lead us forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And now we're going to ask candidate number 3, Mr. Robert Sheldon, to come up and make closing remarks, please.
Thank you for this opportunity. I am passionate about being elected mayor to lead the city of Scottsboro. There's a lot of issues out there. We all want job growth. We want to prosper. We want new restaurants. We want more businesses. We want to help expand the local industry. We want downtown growth. We want more parking downtown. We have to think outside the box. And as the mayor and the new council, we can work together. We have to turn over new ground. There are issues out there. There'll have to be some tough decisions made. But we can do this and we can move forward. We have to take care of our city employees. We have to live within our means with our capital equipment purchases, our bond issues, and so forth. You know, it's a critical time for the city of Scottsboro. I brought these balloons up here and stuck them, and I want them to represent experience. These are called balloons, but they're really different. They're different shapes, they're different colors, they have a different ability, how high they soar and float. You know, experience is just how we look at it when we peel away the surface. You know, and that's why when you go apply for a job, it's called on that resume, or when you fill out an application, it's called work experience. It's not called experience, it's called work experience. These are lifelong experiences that you can put on that piece of paper to show people why you are deserving of that job. And the other thing I want to speak to, last and certainly not least, is accountability. I believe, based on my religious beliefs, that I'm held accountable each and every day for what I do in public and in private. That carries over to my wife, my children, and my grandchildren. I believe I'm held accountable to my church family. But then as mayor, that doesn't leave. That is there every day for these citizens. It's there every day for the employees. It is there every day how I spend your tax dollars. It all comes down to accountability. I hope to be your next mayor of Shelton, August 23rd. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. And now we have candidate number 1, Mr. Joe Young.
Well, again, I want to say thank you to the sponsors and for all of you that are here and are watching on television or listening by radio. My entire life, growing up in a pastor's home, my entire life being a pastor, has been about others. This has been about serving other people, putting other people before myself. Having come to Scottsboro, fallen in love with this city, having 2 children that have graduated from our schools and are preparing for preparing for their careers, I want to do everything I can to see our city move forward, to grow, to prosper, to be blessed. I want to see that for your children. I've heard over and over again how there's no job opportunities for our children, or our children are having to leave. If you will elect me as mayor on August 23rd, I will work hard to grow our economy, to bring job opportunities. I'll work collaboratively with the City Council, the Chamber of Commerce, the EDA, our local city agencies in those areas. I'll work together to grow our economy. It is the #1 issue and most important thing facing us as a city. I believe I have the people skills, the job skills to bring our city together and to work together. I can solve problems, I can get things done by working together with those that are in positions already. I want to bring our city, I want to bring our nonprofits together, I want to bring our businesses together. Too many people are telling me they're not being heard. I'm ready to see Scottsboro shine, not as a diamond in the rough, but to see it shine forward in the beauty that it has, that is being concealed. There's things that's holding us back from growing as a city, and I would like to see us grow as a city. I want to lead with integrity to inspire confidence in our government, in our city. I want to see us respected, not just within our community, but outside of our community. I want to make sure that our city departments are taken care of. I want to make sure that we're working together with our department heads and working collaboratively to see that our city departments are taken care of. I want to beautify our city and let others see the pride that we have in our community. Again, too many people are telling me that they're discouraged, that they're just not pleased with the direction our city is going economically, and that's what I want to focus on and work on. I believe I have the skills to pull people together, to solve problems, and move our city forward. I really appreciate your support and your vote on August 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. We'd like to take this time to thank each and every one of you who attended this very important event tonight. Special thanks to our sponsors who made this event possible: WWIC Radio, the Daily Sentinel, the Greater Jackson County Chamber of Commerce, and the Scottsboro Electric Power Board, and especially the Brad Dudley and Scottsboro High School for letting us use this auditorium and have such an important event. We also want to remind you that this recorded session that provided by Scottsboro Electric Power Board will be available for playback on Channel 10 later this week. Thank you for the candidates from each category: Board of Education, City Council, and the mayoral candidates that participated. We want to wish you luck on Tuesday, August the 23rd. And folks, go vote. Drive safe. God bless. Thank you.